This is Teamwayfinder interviewing Erik Kimerer, the voice of Haruyuki from Excel World, Hydra and Bloodlad, and a fan favorite,
Alibaba from Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic, and soon to be the Kingdom of Magic, Season 2.
It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
All right, so first question. How did you get into voice acting?
I got in, I would say, from a very young age without even knowing it. I always played with my action figures, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, WWF, what have you. And I always kind of had to mimic the voices perfectly. It was just kind of this instinct of mine to always kind of play around with the character voices and personalities that came with it. And then in high school, I took some theater classes and took it as an elective. I didn't think of it as any sort of career, but really fell in love with it. Eventually, I got a newsletter from SakuraCon, the local anime convention in Seattle, where I was raised. And there was a Japanese voice actress, a veteran, who was looking for students to teach in the traditional Japanese method of anime voice acting, which is different than the American method of dubbing, but more akin to our American cartoon method. So I trained in that for a number of years, and after a while I realized this could have been a career opportunity. This is something I really loved doing, and I was a fan of cartoons and anime and Disney growing up. And the theater classes coupled with that kind of made me realize, you know what, I might have some potential in this. I studied theater in University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, and after I graduated, I moved here just to pursue it professionally.
What's been your favorite role so far?
My favorite role is actually one that isn't released yet. I can talk about it, though. It's Ryuji Takasu in Toradora. It's going to be coming out, I believe, either July 1st or 2nd on Blu-ray, and it's the first English dub Niz America is doing. And the reason it's my favorite is probably because I spent more time on this character than any other role between voiceover and theater ever. We probably sunk about 150 hours in the booth on this one character because it was very dialogue heavy. And I just had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with the director, and it was a very organic and creative process where I had a lot to say in how he sounded, and it was just really fun.
So you're pretty decently new to the professional voiceover scene, so what
Yeah.
other voice actors do you look up to?
Oh, so many. I would say the one I look up to the most would probably be my first fan favorite, which was Robin Williams. He's pretty much what got me into voiceover. Watching Aladdin, it was the first movie I was able to kind of sit down and go, okay, that's actually an actor behind that. I can actually recognize that voice. And, you know, I saw him in Mrs. Doubtfire, which was kind of a poor representation of the industry, but it showed that there are people in the booth doing this. And that's, as a kid, that was me going, this is actually a job. People do this. So he's a huge influence of mine. And then Rob Paulson, Steve Bloom, I look up to just a lot of the really nice and successful people, the ones who take the time to talk to their fans and are just so kind. And they're just really talented and really do a good job of connecting with the community.
For Alibaba in the booth, what was probably something more challenging for you to do?
Alibaba was very intense. He had a lot of yelling. I think the most challenging thing was just the intensity of his emotions. Especially in episode 17, I'll try and refrain from spoilers, but it's a very, very emotional moment for him where he experiences a tragic loss. And it was just kind of 1 minute of crying takes, and there was just this build up. And if you're not familiar with the anime process, it's you do the lines individually. It's one line, pause, you get some direction, you do it again, do the next line. And you kind of have to keep the emotional momentum going while listening to the direction and taking these pauses in between saying these lines. So you have to really remain focused in these scenes. And I think that was a particular challenge in episode 17, where there was this long buildup of a scene, this long emotional buildup, and then this just 1 minute long take of nothing but bawling my eyes out. So that was an interesting challenge there.
What is some inspiration or tips you'd like to deliver to young voice actors in training?
To young voice actors in training, I would say just persist. It is a long road ahead. Be aware of what you're best at, what you're strongest at, and focus on that first. I know it's tempting to say, I want to do everything. I want to do the deep villainous voices as well as the high heroic and high pitched animal characters and everything. But first find what you're really good at. And then you can work on the other things from there, because you really want to kind of set yourself apart from everyone else. You want to have your own specific brand and focus on theater and improv. Those are the two major things I would always say in training for voiceover. Those skills will cross over more than any other field. So take as much of those classes as you can.
What kind of acting training would you recommend? Stage, basic voiceover, like for instance, Crispin Freeman's lessons, or?
Oh yeah. I would absolutely recommend workshops like Crispin Freeman's, and Pat Freley does really good ones. Go on the Voice Actor Network. Hope Levy runs this website that has regular workshops, little mini ones that you can do in the evening. And just network. I mean, even if you feel like you're proficient in an area, don't stop learning. Never stop learning. And it's always good to get out and meet new people, because you never know who might be able to offer a job your way or recommend you. But stage is where I would always say start. You're going to learn the absolute necessary skills that cross over into voiceover, kind of projection, timing, presentation. In theater, you kind of have to exaggerate only slightly, just enough so the people in the back row can know what you're doing. They know your movements and your inflections. And that's kind of in voiceover too. You're doing that with emotions, because you don't get the micro twitches or the micro expression changes that you get from seeing, a real human being talk. So you have to really exaggerate a little bit to make sure your inflections and your intentions are clear. So take theater, take improv, take everything. Learn. Never stop learning.
What and where would you say are the best steps to take for a young actor to just put themselves out there and build the right kind of connections?
I'd say find a good group that shares the same interests, because you're always going to be able to help each other out that way. Just the way I kind of went about it, and everybody has their own real method. You're never going to hear the same two stories between two voice actors. Go to conventions, I'd say. I would go to video game conventions, anime, comic book, where you could connect with these directors and ask as many questions without fear of scrutiny. You're there to learn, to figure out the way this industry works, because it's a big, complicated machine. There's always, again, workshops is probably the best way to network and get out and expose yourself to other people and what you can do. And you can learn your own voice and how to build your brand out of that.
All right. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Any
thank you.
Parting words?
Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for having me. And my journey is just beginning in this field. So keep a listen out for me in the future. I'm really excited for the opportunities to come, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities I've had.